Welcome back to another episode of OnShape with Killer K with a J. So, we're going to be looking at CAD sketching exercise. Activity has been adopted from PLTW's original to work with OnShape and to emphasize some of the things that we do. So, you'll notice your first instruction is to go to your IED period number folder in OnShape and create a new document called CAD Sketching. So we're going to do that first. So here I am in my OnShape and I opened up my folder and I am going to create a document called CAD Sketching underscore my last name first initial. Okay, so we are, and we don't need this assembly so we can delete that. Going to be using Part Studios to do our activities, and the first one is the spline. Okay, so I'm going to create a new sketch on the front plane. I'm going to turn it so I can see right at it. And the spline tool is right here. There's a couple options for spline. We're just going to do the normal option here. And it says use the same number, location and number of points. So I'm going to do, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, and then press the escape key on your keyboard. Okay, and now I can press the escape key again. And if it doesn't quite look right, I can always move these points around. I can grab these little white handles and adjust the accentuate the curvature if I want to. And that's fine for number 1. I'm not going to do the second and third one, but I will do the fourth one just to illustrate how to do a closed shape. So again, the spline tool, and here, and here, and here, and here, and here, about here, here, and connect it back to the beginning. So make sure you get that yellow square around to show that you've connected it. And notice the part all turns blue and fills in nicely. And that's almost done. You got to do the other two for your assignment. Okay. So now let's go on and finish that sketch. And we're going to add a new part studio. Okay. And this one, we're going to do the circle and ellipse in. So we're going to add a new sketch, front plane, and you know how to do the circles. That's easy. The ellipse is a little bit different, but it's here under the circle. Notice there's a drop-down arrow, so select the ellipse. First, you have to place the center of the ellipse. So there. Okay, and notice if I drag it out, it stretches out the ellipse. If I want to go diagonal, then I adjust my arrow diagonally. And then there's a secondary axis. How wide? This is called the minor axis of an ellipse. So you adjust it, get it somewhat close to what the picture looks like. Okay, so that's an ellipse, and finish. Okay, if I in the directions I said rename it, so this is circle and ellipse. Okay, and then this first one, we rename it. That's called spline. All right, and we're going to add a third part studio. And we're going to do the arcs. So again, a new sketch, front plane. And the arcs are just to the right of the circle. And I'm going to show you how to do the tangent arc. You guys can figure out the 3-point arc. The tangent arc always needs something to be tangent to. So you've got to draw the 2 lines first. So draw one line and press escape and draw the next line somewhere over here. Okay, so now we can go over here and select tangent arc. And we select where we want to start, i.e. this line. So that point, notice it makes it tangent there. And boom. Okay. So if I click show constraints, notice there's only one tangent. Okay. And if you hover over the tangent, it shows, oh, that arc is tangent to the top line, but it's not to the bottom line. Notice when something is tangent, if I move this line, the arc follows it. If I adjust the line, see how the arc follows it? But this one over here, oh, it snapped. It's like you broke it. Okay, so we can add that tangent constraint over here. Click on the arc, click on the line, and boom. Now that side's also tangent. Okay. All right, and I'll let you finish. CCW means counterclockwise, CW means clockwise. All right, so that's arcs. And new part studio. The next one is a fillet. Okay. Now there's a before and after picture. You only have to turn the before into the after. Okay, you don't have to have both images on there. So I'm going to start there. And this should be a 2 by 1.5. So there, that width should be 2 and the height should be 1.5. Okay, I can zoom in. And then I'm going to use the fillet tool. And if you go up here, it's right next to the pair, just to the left of the scissors. So what a fillet does is it lets you round off a corner to a certain radius. So notice there's 3 dimensions we're going to use. And in order to use it, on a square edge, you have to click on the 2 lines that make up the corner. So if I want to do this corner, I got to click on this line and this line. Okay. And that says 0.25, which is what it should be. So we're going to click and it applies it. There's 0.25 and enter. Okay. Then this bottom right corner, that's what we want. So click and it should be 0.75. Oops. Okay. Let's dimension that one. That should be 0.75. Okay. All right, let's go back. Something. Let's get our fillet tool here. There we go. And enter and enter. Okay. All right, and then our final line, our final corner should be 0.5. There we go. Okay, so now it's done. You got your fillet tool. Let's rename that fillet. Okay, and then we're going to add a new part studio and sketch. And this one is the polygon. So we've got 4 polygons. One's a hexagon, a pentagon, a triangle, and an octagon. So the polygon sketch tool here, we're going to use the either one, inscribed or circumscribed, depending on the application. Later on, we'll use circumscribed, so I'm just going to use that one now. And first, you need a center of that polygon. Then you need to stretch it out to about whatever size you want it. And then by moving the mouse, notice it changes the number of sides. So this one we want to be 6 sides. So click. Okay. All right, the next one we want to be 5 sides. So get it out to about the size you want and then move it to 5 sides. And the next one should be a triangle. There we go. And the last one should be an octagon. 8 sides. Boom. And you're done. Okay, again, you can move these little annotations if you want. Sometimes they obscure your sketch, so it's nice to move them out of the way. All right, and that is polygons. So let's rename that. And get a new part studio. Okay, so from here they start to get a little bit more interesting. Okay, so this one is the mirror. So we're going to use the line and circle tools to create a similar figure to the left. So looks like it's going to be some part of, make sure you got a horizontal line, a vertical line, and then another horizontal line connecting back to the y-axis. Okay, and then we need a circle. So I'm going to click the drop down, center point circle. We need one here. Doesn't really matter how big. One here. You could use the constraint to make them equal, since you know all about those constraints now. Okay, and then we need a little rectangle somewhere in here. It doesn't really matter how big, just somewhere in between the circles. Okay, and then finally, we need a mirror line. The way the mirror tool works, you need to indicate a line that's going to mirror over. So we're going to draw a line and turn on the sketch or the construction options. So I'm going to move it right over here. Notice when I'm right over the origin on the y-axis, the origin highlights yellow. Okay, right there, see? So we need a line that goes vertically right there and should be a dotted line. Okay, so now we can use the mirror tool. So click on that and it says select a mirror line. So which line are you going to reflect over? Well, this one. Okay, and then it says select entities to be mirrored. So now you can either click to select all the individual things you want to copy, or just drag and select all those. Now notice it didn't copy these, so I'm going to add these also just by clicking on them. And when I'm done, I can press escape. Okay, so there's the mirror tool done. Let's rename that. Okay, check mark and new part studio. Okay, next one is a circular pattern. Okay, so we need to start with a circle, and it says make a circle that's 2.25 inches. So we're going to drag it out and then type in 2.25. Boom. And I can zoom in to make that a little bit larger to make my job a little bit easier. And then the next thing is I need to create an equilateral triangle with a 0.25 within a 0.25 inch diameter circle. So this is where you need to use your polygon tool and use a circumscribed polygon. Okay, so choose the circumscribed polygon. Make sure you put it right above the origin, like that. And then it should be a triangle. Okay, make sure it's pointing up. All right. Now, it says it has to be within a 0.25 inch diameter circle. Well, I'm not sure if that's a 0.25 inch diameter circle, so what I will do is I will dimension it. Click on dimension and change that circle to be 0.25. Notice my triangle matches with it because it's inscribed on that circle. Next, it should be 7/8 of an inch from here. So again, that's the dimension tool. So click on the center of the triangle and the origin. And you can type 7/8. It can do fractions. 7/8 of an inch. There we go. And now we can use the circular pattern. Now it's right here underneath the linear pattern. So see, circular pattern. Okay, and then to do that, I need to select, well, what do I want to copy first? So that, and that. Okay. And then we need to tell it, well, how many times do you want it to copy? And it's this long line right here. Okay. Or this line right here. So we want to change that to 12. And then hit enter again or click, and boom, you got 12 copies that include the original. So 1, 2, 3, da, da, da. And notice if I move this one somehow or change the size of it, they all change. So if I change that circle to 0.3, notice they all change with it. That's the strength of using the pattern tool. Okay, so change it back, undo that. Okay, and let's rename to circular pattern. Okay, all right. Next, Part Studio. Okay, sketch. And this one is the rectangular pattern. Okay, so I have to start off with a rectangle that is 4 inches wide by 3.25 inches tall. I'm going to use a different way to make a rectangle. I'm going to use a center point. So I'm going to start from the center here and then drag my rectangle out. And then I can set the width, which is 4, and then that should be 3.25 tall. Okay, so that's nice if you need a rectangle that's centered on something rather than a normal corner or a regular corner rectangle. And then we need to create a 3/8 inch diameter circle that's down here in this lower left corner. So make a circle and type in 3/8. And then finally it needs to be 3/8 of an inch from the bottom and left corners. So get the dimension tool, click on the center, click on the bottom, and make that also 3/8. And then the same thing, center to the left side. That should also be 3/8. Okay, so notice I've got my diameter here. I've got my distance from the left edge and my distance from the center. Now there's a reason why I'm moving these down. You'll see why shortly when I do the linear pattern. Okay, so now my circle's ready. So now I need a linear pattern, or some other places it was a rectangular pattern, but linear pattern, it makes rows and columns. So like if you wanted to make a Lego button and then duplicate that, you could use this. Okay, so first we need to select, we want to copy this circle. Okay, and it's saying, okay, well, how many do you want? Well, it says we need 7 columns, so we need to change this to 7. Okay, and then we need 6 rows. Right now there's only 1 row, so we need 6 rows. But they're all too far apart. They all go off of my rectangular grid, so I need to change the spacing between them. So that's this number right here that's showing the distance between the centers. So let's try 0.5. That's good. Why don't we change this one also to 0.5 then? Okay, you could set them to be different. If you wanted to space them out further, you could do that too. All right, and then click the place, and there you go. You've got a bunch of copies all in a nice grid arrangement. All right, so that is linear pattern. Finish that. And then finally, our last one here is offset. Okay, so oops, we want the front plane. Okay, so we're looking at the front plane, and let's just draw this first figure here. Something like this. Up, over, down, across. Make sure it's even and up. Okay. And then we need a circle. So let's get our circle over here. Doesn't really matter how big. Okay. And then we need like a little chevron over here. Boom. Boom. Okay. And then finally we need a polygon. So let's get our circumscribe polygon again. And we need a pentagon. So let's make it 5. There we go. Okay, so what the offset tool is, it copies the geometry and expands it. So if you click offset, then you need to select, well, what all do you want to offset? You can either click the drag like that, and notice it's creating it inside, and the distance is 0.25, so every edge is 0.25 from its corresponding copy. We want to go out. Okay. All right, and 0.24, 0.25, that's fine. And then we want to expand this outside one again. So click on the outside. Make sure you select all the sides. Don't drag select this time, because if you select the inside, it'll try to copy that. And then move the arrow outside so it goes outside again. And click, and 0.25 is fine. Okay. All right. And then do the same thing for the other ones. Okay. All right. So that is how to complete the sketching activities. And let's rename this to offset. Okay, this is Killer K with a J, coming to you straight from the NHS. And remember, aspire, achieve, and adapt, yo. That's the Viking way, and it's slap, though. If you want to learn, then it's Mando. Killer K, always got your back, yo.